It's going to be wild to watch how people search and conduct their knowledge because, like, bringing it back to family law, we know that the search process is 2 to 3 years long. So there's going to be so much interaction with AI before a purchasing decision happens that you're going to miss the whole boat years ahead of time if you're not there. Welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show. We have a great episode today. We're going to put our tinfoil hats on and talk about our predictions, the 5 predictions we have for GEO in 2026. Tony, our first prediction is that the GEO first mover advantage will close by mid-2026. I'm assuming it is because AI is everywhere now. Everyone knows about it. Everyone's asking about it. And the early adopters, everyone's becoming that.
Yeah, I mean, the more and more these tools become reliable and they hallucinate less, and they're just being adopted more and more. So, and like from a generative engine perspective, in terms of like showing having visibility in the LLMs, there's firms that have been moving towards that since the beginning, having really well structured content. So that's definitely coming. I would say there's the general move of users moving away from search and towards Perplexity or ChatGPT or Claude to do investigations has significantly moved already. Search is still something to be used, but it's like part of the ecosystem. I don't think it's going away. It's just a lot of people are treating these LLMs as like personal advice givers, essentially. And it's like, it's changing how people interact with the internet in a pretty large way. Like, I still use search, but it's way closer to the end of my search process. And I'm oftentimes going direct to brands because brands are recommended by the LLMs. So it's very much just, it's changing the way I'm searching. It's changing the way a lot of people are searching. I know my wife actually is using Perplexity a lot more for tons of things instead of going direct to search, and then she uses search to find things at the end. So it's changing how people are operating with the internet. Search doesn't go away. It's changing. It's part of the equation, not the only equation.
Yeah, I think it's fully time to accept that this is here to stay and that the firms building AI visibility now are going to dominate referrals for years, right? There's no longer like wait and see if it's going to work. Like, this is a thing. It's time. And one thing that we tell prospective clients and our clients all the time is like, just go to an LLM and search who are the top family attorneys in your city, right? And then ask Perplexity the same question and see who shows up.
Well, like what's interesting is that's not how people are using it. So you got to think about how they're actually leveraging these LLMs when they're doing it, because that's how you would use it for search, right? You would like switch. So, and like at first that's what people are doing. They're just kind of using it as an augmented search, but they're seeing they're getting a whole bunch more than they asked for. That's really good. So they're starting to use it as like a scenario advisor. So they're like, how I typically use my go-to is Grok, because I can speak into it really well. It has the best back and forth from a speaking perspective. So that's my preference. And I go and I just, I just throw up into Grok, give it, 3 or 4, depending on what I'm doing, 90 seconds to 4 minutes of just me talking to it, explaining what I'm trying to do. Yeah, just literally thinking out loud, not trying to structure it, not trying to be perfect, not trying to do anything. And then it gives me a response. And typically I'm also asking it, like, ask me other questions about this, about my scenario or about my situation or about what I'm trying to do. Interview me and ask me more questions so that I can fully give you all of the things to consider in your solution. So that's typically where I'm starting. And then it's giving me several options after, and then I go to those things and do my research. So it's completely changing the query streams, because I don't think, especially future future version, people aren't going to go to ChatGPT and they're not going to go, who are the top family law firms in whatever city. They're going to say, I'm married with two. Yeah, I'm married with two kids. They're 7 and 9. We homeschool. We have 401k. We own a couple businesses. Here's we live in this area. And we're getting a divorce. Like, what should I do? What's my first step? Like, that would be probably a query. And then if you don't have information on your site or other references externally about all of those things I just mentioned, you are not going to be visible in the LLMs at all. Like, Grok's not going to show you for that search query, and it's not a search query. It's like a search paragraph or a search, story essentially, that it's taking, synthesizing, then taking all of the information it has in its database to return you some results that are, it thinks are going to be answering your query. So
Yeah, that's a great point.
it's
So,
just very different.
so assuming that's true, our listeners need to ensure that they have lots and lots of content and relevant topics on their site as it relates to how people are going to do their generic research before they're even ready for a divorce, right?
Yeah. So this is where video content is really helping firms that have gone into that. This is where kind of doing a combination of, where are you located and where do you serve? So essentially like service type content, core content, which would be like, what are the things that you actually do? So like, what do you actually do? Where do you do it? And then what are like natural language scenarios that get covered? So like, that's part of our content plan. It's typically threefold. And we do a lot of videos as well at Sterling, because like the whole purpose is we need to attack it. We need to attack the search front because there's still going to be searchers. We need to attack the location front because people are still going to be interacting with maps in a real heavy way. And the LLMs, the models are using maps to pre-include location adjusted information. And then you need to have like natural language conversation, story-based, scenario-based conversation about particular topics. So like one of the things that we do is we take a scenario, completely anonymize it and write it up as an article. So we'll basically change the attorney, we'll change the location, we'll use the root of the story, change the client names, but then we'll have a blog post about what occurred. So like client information is still protected. Nothing is divulged from that perspective. It's also why we changed the attorney. So there's really no way to go research this story, but it's an amazing opportunity for natural language models like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or whatever. They're going to see that information, and then you're going to be more relevant to different story-based interactions that are happening on these platforms. So it's just, you got to think about content differently, because the way people are interacting with these tools is very different than how they're interacting with search.
Family law isn't like other practice areas. Your callers are not shopping for a service. They're looking for someone who makes them feel safe enough to share the worst thing happening in their life. The firm that hears them first wins every time. And that's what changed everything at Sterling.
We eventually built that system into 4 actionable steps. On this free training, Mary Sankey, who leads our sales team, is going to break down the entire 4-step sales system. She is Sterling's sales manager. She's the one who runs it every single day. So go ahead and register below for the sales secrets of an $18 million family law firm. I'll see you there. So speaking of content, Tony, our second prediction is that AI is going to penalize generic content more than Google ever did. And, you've been doing search for a long time, and there were definitely moments when you could just throw a bunch of content up or keyword stuff the hell out of a page. And it feels like people are trying to hack the GEO algorithm. But I think what we've seen is that it's so much more personalized, and the more specific and deliberate you can build content, the more effective you're going to show up.
Yeah, it's the way the AI models are gathering, sorting, and compiling information back to users from a chat perspective it's way more advanced than what you're getting from an SEO or from a search page. That's primarily driven from contextual information and offsite linking, both of which are easy to manipulate. And that's why a lot of law firm sites, especially the ones that we take on here at Rocket Clicks, they're way over indexed on location pages. So sometimes, we'll have, the biggest example we had is we had a firm that had, I think, 12 locations total. They had 786 pages that were dedicated to location variants. The content that wasn't dedicated to location variants was under 200. So it's a huge problem in the space generally. It's just over optimization on top of over optimization, and it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for SEO for a long time. It actually started really getting penalized in the last several years, where sites that were doing that, they've lost a lot of rank, and it's because it was easy to see what they were trying to do. But with the AI models, that they don't necessarily care how many pages on a site say the same thing. That's just going to count as the same as one thing, because they're not returning pages; they're returning information. So they're synthesizing information. So if you have 500 pages or 5,000 pages saying you are relevant to the city of Milwaukee, that's just one data point, because you're one site and it's one piece of information about you and your brand being relevant to Milwaukee. So it's not going to help you. Like these sites need to have 3 different types of content. They need some location content, because that's going to help feed the maps. And that's primarily where these AI models are determining location proximity from, like is the service something that a user should consider based on where they're located. A lot of it's coming from the maps, because they're pulling all of that map data. The second is, like, what types of practice area information do you have, and how specific do you get with that info, so that it can be contextually applied to what we were talking about before, which is just someone kind of throwing up into an AI model to determine what they should potentially do next. And that information is going to be really helpful there. And then story-based information, or information similar to, like, videos, or information similar to videos, which are more story-based content, they're going to also help from a contextual perspective, because that's what the AI models are looking for, is like, who's relevant. Like, for my scenario, if I was going through a divorce, they'd want to be able to pull a firm in the Milwaukee area that they trust is relevant to married, with kids, owns a business, all these different types of things. So, if I don't have that type of information on my site, I'm not going to be there when the AI returns the information. So
yeah, this really makes me think about other agencies that we've encountered in this space, and a lot of their contracts are deliverable based contracts. They are, well, we'll do 2 blog posts a month, or we'll do 3 landing pages a month. And the problem with that is exactly what you're saying. It's just creating more work that's irrelevant, that's not pushing these sites forward. It's like, well, I got to get the content out, so I'm going to create some more location pages. And then you end up with that firm you were talking about with 700 pages dedicated towards locations.
Yeah, I mean, there's no restarting. If it took you 4 years to get to that place, like, that's 4 years of wasted content building where it's valuable, because, like, that's not really what it works. It hasn't worked for a long time. I mean, that's really SEO from, like, 2007. So it's pretty outdated. It's almost 20 years old. So, the internet's evolved a ton from there. And, like, now that we have the tools and the platforms that actually can consume the information, those sites are really being left behind as the internet changes and shifts.
Yes, good point. Okay, moving on to our third prediction. Agentic browsers will control 60% of the family law shortlist by 2027. Give us an overview on what these browsers are and why we think they're going to control so much of this market share.
So if you've used Perplexity or Comet, so Perplexity is a model. There's a browser called Comet, It's built right. The Perplexity model's built right into it. ChatGPT has their own as well. These are changing the way browser usage is happening. There's a fair amount of switch that's already occurred. So Perplexity, for instance, has 15 million active users. Most people haven't heard of it. It's not a significant AI platform at this point. In terms of like, when you compare that to how many monthly active users are on Google, like it's a very different number. So we're still in the early adopter curve, but they have a browser that's called Comet, where Perplexity is built right in. So every time you actually go to your browser to do something, you're going to get an AI result back. You're not going to get a search page back. And it's delivering different information that you're going to start consuming in a different way, and it's changing behavior patterns. What's going to be really interesting is as these models continue to become adopted in the greater marketplace, general search from browsers may not even be a thing in the future. I know for myself, like I'm fairly big AI nerd. I use a lot of my information gathering is actually happening. More and more of it is actually happening directly through Slack, because I've created my own Slack agent that does things that I want it to do and can plug into anything. So I'm not even leaving my workspace. Like I'm staying in Slack, connected to my team. One of my team members, quote unquote, name is Patrick. And that's my AI that does a whole bunch of different things.
So you're like starting your search there. Hey, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm starting my search there. I'll give them a task to like do research on X, Y, and Z, and it'll give me back a whole bunch of information. And I have not left Slack. So it's there's a ton that's going to change in this marketplace. So, we're very much on the early adopter curve, and that's going to, as it continues to become more and more standard use, like which browser do you use? You'll still have it, but your interaction with the internet is going to continue to look more and more different, because you may not be starting ever in a browser. Like I know for me, like a lot of stuff I don't even start in a browser. I'm starting in Slack, because that's where I want to control all my communication. Patrick, because the agent that I've built, it's in my email, it's in my iMessage, and all of it routes through my Slack. And now I just have one space to do things, versus all of these different spaces that are, they just continue to sprawl, and it's a pain in the butt to manage, especially on, calendar like mine.
Totally off topic and not related to family law firms, but are you seeing that same interaction happen when you're doing e-commerce? Like I know you're a big Nike sneaker guy. Are you gonna ask Patrick to give you the latest sneaker releases?
I'm not a shoe head like that, so like I don't really track shoe releases. Like the most recent one I did, we wanted to get different toothbrushes for our family, right? So we ended up getting Auto Brush, which is like this huge. It's like this. It doesn't look like a toothbrush. You stick it in your mouth and it like brushes your teeth for you, because I want to make my girls brush their teeth better. So like, what better the way than to get them a dinosaur toothbrush that they put in their mouth? It's like top and bottom, and it does like a way better job than you would if you did it by yourself. I found that through this process.
So it's doing research on all kinds of things. Yeah, like you're
correct.
Starting there.
Yeah, correct. I'm starting there, and then it shows me a bunch of potential products, and I go to those sites and I look at them, and there's a lot that's why, people that are more visible in these AI platforms, they're seeing a higher, they should be seeing in their analytics more direct traffic. That's likely what's happening, because they're getting recommended. And then people are either clicking through the links in the LLM. They might be seeing that as referral traffic, or people are just going to those domains.
That's so interesting. Yeah, it's going to be wild to watch how people search and conduct their knowledge, because like bringing it back to family law, we know that the search process is 2 to 3 years long. So there's going to be so much interaction with AI before a purchasing decision happens. that you're going to miss the whole boat years ahead of time if you're not there.
And it depends how you're set up. Like, not really sure how I would get opted into anything at that, like the way that I'm using it, because I'm direct port into via the API. I've created my own Slack agent, and it's just going to Anthropic via an API key. So like, I'm not getting ads. I'm never going to get ads in my Slack instance unless Slack starts doing that. But even then, like, these are encrypted messages back and forth to my agent. So I do think marketing is going to continue to change. It's going to look different. We're not there yet. Like, this is an existential threat, but there is, the market's going to change a lot. Like I've said for a long time, like, the best book for anybody to read that's in marketing, honestly, any business owner should read this too. It's called Scientific Advertising by Claude C. Hopkins. It was written in the 1920s. It's old as shit. It is super old, but it is actually marketing. It's none of this like, let's try to manipulate a search engine to get our brand in front of it. No, it's all about messages. It's all about hooks. It's all about presentations, about offers. It's about how you had to advertise when you had to like figure out how to get in front of people, grab their attention in a second, and then have them do an action. So I just think the world is moving more towards that. Branding is going to become more and more important than it has in the past. It's going to change the way marketers have to think. And if they're just, platform automatons, they're going to struggle in this new world because they're not really marketers. They're just, they know how to put the keywords in the right place to make the Google ads ad pop. Like, that's not really marketing. That's just platform management.
I mean, that book, along with The Waterfall Method by Anthony Carls.
Sure. Yeah. We can
throw that on the list. Love it. Okay, moving into number 4, which we've touched on a little bit, and that is that Google will aggressively de-index templated multi-location pages. So if you have a location in Tempe and a location in Phoenix and a location in wherever, and you have just the same content, but you change the address, you're going to get screwed.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the case for a while. Why it's becoming more and more important is like the Google search page is changing. If you go to a Google search page now and you just like look at what returns when you do any type of query in Google, like, you're getting an AI overview first for a large percentage of queries. You're then going to get maybe an ad or two. You're going to get a map. You're going to get, and then you're going to get a couple organic search results. You used to get 10 all the time. You're not even getting 10 organic search results anymore. So Google, it's, de-index, maybe that's aggressive, but they're just not going to be visible. They're not going to be visible. And like, what worked in the past to get you visibility is not going to work in new world. And that's continued to happen. I mean, there was some pretty large updates in 2025 that Google targeted, and a lot of people got some traffic wiped out right around the Q3 mark of last year. I think that was the second or third time they had updated that part of the algorithm, because I think the first time we actually saw this was late 2024. They tested it in December, then they rolled it out pretty hard in April. They did it again with another update in August. So this has been the trend. This has been the trend for a long time, though. Way back when they did the Panda and Penguin algorithm implementations, which I believe was like 2008 and 2009. This has been their direction. They just have better tools to implement now and way better processing power with using these AI models to improve their search results. That's what they're doing.
It's wild. I think the 5th prediction is the most important one, or the most relevant for today. And that is that a reliance on a single platform will put you out of business. If your law firm only gets leads from Google Ads today or LSAs today, you have to diversify.
Yeah, 100%. Like that. I mean, that's so true. And the tendency for a lot of people that are starting to use AI, they're essentially building out a whole infrastructure for like, if you're really into AI, a lot of people are like picking a whole infrastructure to just use Claude or just use ChatGPT or just use Google. we're so early in this right now that that's like deciding is Alta Vista, Yahoo, or Ask Jeeves going to win the search game. And it's like, oh no, Google's going to win the search game. And like, they weren't even a player when this whole thing started. So that's where we are in the evolution of these AI models. It's like, we don't know which one of these are going to win. Grok started super far behind. They have really leapfrogged forward with all of the data that they're leveraging from their models that they've been working and using in full self-drive mode and on a Tesla that's being retrained with language. So like they're coming along really fast. Google's gotten a lot better. They started from a full infrastructure perspective where OpenAI just started from a models. So like we don't know who's going to win at this point. And some of the winners and losers are going to be picked not necessarily even because of quality. Like there's definitely going to be things related to what's going on in the marketplace generally. Like Claude just got slapped by the War Department or whatever you want to call it at this point. And like, they're not going to get military contracts, which means they're going to get way less funding than the people that got opted in. That's not fair for them. But the reality is like, that's going to make a difference because the other companies that got picked, they're going to get funded and they're going to have more access to capital and opportunities than Claude is, who's I think one of the top right now. So it like, we don't know who's going to win at this point. It's just, it's an ever evolving marketplace right now. So like really getting into one single platform, whether that's your marketing strategy or your AI strategy internally, you're setting yourself up for failure. Maybe you'll get lucky and roll the dice well, but that's just something people should have on their minds as this world starts to change and we move towards this AI integrated work. Yeah, AI integrated workforce and like workflow opportunities in work and visibility in marketing and all the things.
So if I'm a law firm owner listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, Tony just scared the crap out of me. I'm not doing anything with AI. What's their first step? What's the first thing that a law firm owner should do, or who should they talk to about understanding what they need to be doing from a AI visibility perspective?
I mean, I would, if you're not using AI currently, like that's probably your first step is like, do you have a Claude.ai account? Do you have a Gemini account? Do you have a ChatGPT account? Do you have one of these to start using and like getting into your normal everyday utility of your daily work habits? Because I don't ever go to search first anymore. A lot of my interaction every single day is with Grok or with my Slack agent. Like that's where I'm starting most of my work, to challenge my thinking, to just refine what I'm thinking I'm going to start with. So if you're not starting with that, like that's probably the biggest thing. And then secondly, start using the tool. If you want to know, like, what can I do better to be visible in AI search, in AI chats, ask it. Give it your website. Say, what are my content gaps that are holding me back from visibility in the AI models? So, and you're going to get a different answer from all the different LLMs because they're all built differently. So, that's probably where I would start, because you're going to get a whole bunch of information and you're going to start actually using the tool that you should be using to, as you're venturing with all of us to figure out what this new world of work looks like when we're all AI enabled.
That's right. Tony, I appreciate your time as always.